All right, so here is our PAS software icon. We've already installed the PAS software. We're going to click on this. If it wants to click, there we go. You'll hit yes. That's because of the administrative rights, which you'll need to run the software. As of right now, this is a blank slate for a brand new installation of the PAS software. If you go to View and click Sites Tree, this will give you all of your folders and your meters or sites for the PAS software. To create a new folder, you can right-click and select New Group, and you can name it whatever you want. Let's say 130 West 34th Street, okay? And let's say you wanted to add a meter. Let's call it a, PM 175, okay? So you come here, you'll name PM 175, floor 34 or 43. You'll have to hit new because PAS software works off of Microsoft database. That's why it's MDB. So you'll have to add the record to the database so that you can store your sites and information set to the meter. You'll hit OK, and the configuration window comes up. This is a very important window. It is for making communication connections to SATEC meters. You will not want to use the meter setup, communication setup. The communication setup is for when you've already established a connection and you want to make changes to the communication settings stored on the meter. That is the only time you'd ever use the communication setup. If you want to make a connection or establish a connection, you'll always want to go to Tools, Configuration, and make your communication settings in here. We're using 175 today, which is very similar to 174. We are going to explain communication through serial and internet. I'm going to start with serial first. The first thing you would want to do if this is a new meter, you would want to use the default setup. Okay, the default setup is already predefined in this meter here, and you'll find a COM5, which would be a USB to serial converter because we're doing serial communication. The default is always 19200 baud rate, 8 data bits, 1 stop bit, parity none, and DTR off. And we always have Modbus protocol, RTU, response timeout, breakout, retries, and transmission delays. You'll never have to change these, but if you want, they're there. Same thing back to the configure. You'll never have to change the data bits, stop bits, parities, or DTR unless you have made changes to a pre-installed meter. To verify that this is the correct COM port, you can go down to your Windows button, right-click, select Device Manager, and you will have ports LPT. You'll want to expand this, and as you can see, we have serial port USB COM5, and that is how I know that this is the correct device to communicate with my PM175. So we verified our communication setup, and also the other thing I forgot to mention is the device address is defaulted as 1 on all of our SATEC meters. We'll hit OK. We want to go to Monitor Online to put the meter in constant communication with the PC. Once that is done, you can right-click on the default site and select Properties. As you can see, we have a communications error because I must have used this unit for a previous installation or test. So you'll have to go through the front display to verify your communication settings for whichever COM port you're communicating with the serial converter. Right now I'm communicating to COM2, so if you give me a moment, I will verify and retry the communications check. Okay, so as of right now, everything looks to be okay. There may be an issue with this unit, which would not be good. So we're going to move along to the communication test for the Ethernet. We're going to come back That was a shortcut I just used for the configuration window. You can hit internet site, and the default IP address for all of our SafeSec meters is 192.168.0.203. You'll see the wait for answers is usually defaulted at 30, but I like to leave it at 10 because I don't like to wait that long. I'm a little impatient, I guess. And we're going to right click and try the communications test one more time. As you can see, we have our internet connection set up. So 175 online, get your serial number, firmware, bootware, and the modem firmware is the firmware for the Ethernet communications board. There's our IP address, host port, protocol, yada, yada, yada. We'll hit OK to this window. At this point, most people would like to go to the meter setup, general setup, and program their PT ratio and their CT ratio. You'll hit send, and then you'll hit yes, and if it asks you for a password, the password is always 9. I didn't make any changes, but let me do a change real quick. I'll change the CT to 100, for example, and hit send, and it took it. One way to check if it took, you hit receive, yes, and as you can see, it is still 100, it has not changed, so that's how we know that it is correct and programmed. I'm going to change it back to 5 for myself. After you make any changes, you would want to usually save as. You would want to select the site that you're going to save it to. Since we made the 175, I'm going to save it to there and hit OK. And I'm going to hit OK to this window. A lot of people also like to set up memory logs, make changes to those. I'm going to show you how to do that. Data log 1 and 2 are default setup. You're going to find those under your data recorder. These are the different parameters that you'll record. You'll have V1, V2, V3, all these different ones, and also you'll have log 2 as well. So as you can see, these are all the defaults. The interval at which the data is recorded is back in meter setup, general setup. I'm going to show you that it's under the control arm set points. And as you can see, minute interval, 15 minutes as our operating limit, and action is to record to data log 1 and data log 2. If you did make any changes, you'd obviously hit send, and then I would recommend saving as. When you save as, it actually saves it to this site, and when you go offline, you'll be able to view the data while you're offline, so you'll know what you had sent in the past. But if you don't save, you won't have that data. So that's about it for right now.